They have the hard-hitting analysis.
I'm anti-injury, so maybe this won't work out.
Kyler's only playing one tight end this week, so that's probably going to help him out a lot.
They tell it like it is.
That's not what I needed, Grandma Nut.
All right, the hipster fantasy player.
I don't do anything.
Their listeners love them.
Found all your charts boring, to be frank. Caitlin was the star of the show.
They break down all the statistics.
20 points. That doesn't quite add up. Maybe he had 93.
This is the Snick Snack Sports Podcast.
Here we... All right, Snickers, help me out.
What's going on, all you Jerome Ford fans out there? How are we doing today? How are you doing, Nate? Happy Friday night.
Happy Friday night, Snickers. Doing great. It's the end of the work week, which is always an excellent thing. Had a half of a good football game last night, which I did not watch, but some 49ers fans might be happy. Some 49ers players, managers.
Absolutely, especially if you're a little moody this morning.
Absolutely. And had a very interesting waiver wire, as the first few weeks of the season always are. Had maybe an over expenditure, but we'll have to get some takes on that because, I was up there. Maybe a little happy I didn't get them now. So we'll get more into that later. But this season is really panning out interesting. We both won last week.
Yeah, we did.
But let's start by taking a look at the standings. Because it's a little bit different than we've seen in the past. We just scroll up here. Look what we have at 2-0.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Three teams that I don't consider to be, perennial all-stars here are all 2-0. We got Harbor Patrol John, we got College Losers Carson, and we got Mid-Tier Nick, who I know what you're going to say. Mid-Tier Nick won 2 years ago, but I have not ever lost to him, so I don't really think that he's that good of a player. I don't know about you, Nate.
I have not had the same level of success against him. As everyone knows, we tied last year. I have respect for the mid-tier Nick team. I think the past 3 years he's been a contender. Last year wasn't quite as strong, but he was definitely not a bad team last year, I felt. But then also down here at the bottom, we have some teams we don't really expect to see there as well. And already some of them, like Matt, a 22% playoff chance. What's going on?
Yeah, Matt's always a playoff contender, usually 3-4 seed. So is Kyler. So is Ducky, usually 4 or 5 seed. Really good regular season teams. Really surprised to see them all at the bottom there. And then just a bunch of, randos in the middle here.
Yeah, not your team not getting a lot of respect. It's in the top half of the league, but less than a 50% chance to make the playoffs.
Hey, just like being that 5th place spot instead of in the 10th or 11th spot I was all last year.
I also found, if we take a look, I love this chart. We all have to revisit it from time to time. The most controversial chart in ESPN. And a very interesting trend here. One, John is projected to still be in first. He was drafted, was projected to be in first, still there. The whole rest of the league is flip-swapped. The bottom half of the league is all green. The top half of the league is all red. So I think this is ESPN telling us they suck a little bit at early season projections.
Yeah, I really don't put a lot of faith into that chart there. Obviously, it has me going down. I won last week, so that doesn't make a lot of sense.
I don't put a lot of faith into either, but I know me and Shane are perennially at the bottom of this chart, and I think it's a big motivator for us. Last year, Shane came in second, and he was also 12th in this chart, as I'm sure he will be quick to tell you. Tell us about the news in the NFL this week, because there was a lot of impactful news again. A season that has a lot of injuries. What's going on?
Yeah, definitely a lot of injuries. But the first thing we're going to talk about is there was a big NFL trade before the start of Week 3. Cameron Akers is now on the Minnesota Vikings. The Rams got rid of him for nothing. They did not get rid of him for anything. They just gave him to the Vikings and said, you can have him. I don't think he's going to be playing this week, so Alexander Madison will be fine, but that should be pretty interesting looking at that backfield moving forward here. And then as far as injuries go, Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb's out for the year. Running backs are, taking a big hit. Hopefully you got a couple good ones in your team there. Joe Burrow has a calf injury, re-injured last week. He might miss this week. Jalen Waddle is in concussion protocol. So is Anthony Richardson. So they're all having tough times out there. Although Anthony Richardson's Colts being led by Gardner Minshew going into Baltimore this week to fight the Ravens, who do not have anyone on defense or offense. And then Bryce Young, his third career game going up to Seattle is not going to be playing this week. That's a tough loss for a young team there.
Yeah, no, for sure. I know that a lot of people are probably feeling like, man, my team's getting screwed this year on injuries. But just remember, there have just been a lot of injuries, so probably your opponent has as well. Injuries are just a fact of the league right now. Also, another player who was signed, Kareem Hunt, probably also not playing this week, from my understanding. So he was a pickup this week, but not going to be useful yet.
Yeah.
Let's take a look then at some of our matchups this week. There were some upsets. I mean, you can just tell. I mean, upsets are just based on like previous years' reputation at this point. But let's take a look.
No, but yeah, like you're saying, Kenny, who put up 158 points week 1, lost last week to John, who put up just a little bit more than he did. Obviously, you being Kyler actually might be sitting an upset. I don't know who was tricked to win that one, but yeah, John went off last week.
Yeah, John went off last week. I think he was the week's highest scorer. You were the second highest scorer. Oh, third highest scorer, because Carson, holy cow. We were looking at him, and we'll probably talk about him a little later too, but because he's playing our guest today. But he has a great start to the year, but has not really been doing too much for management, which means I think his team's going to fall off.
Yeah, I mean, keeping Aaron Rodgers on there just for good luck, even if he is healthy enough for the Super Bowl. Fantasy football's over at that point, so I'm not sure what he wants to do there.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of thing is less impactful with given how big our benches is, but still, you got to get rid of that guy. Stick someone on there. But yeah, I had a week that ended up being super close with Kyler, who's one of our surprise 0-2s because he's always pretty good, our only back-to-back champ. And it was just that his flex really didn't work out. Zay Jones goosed him, and if those had gone differently, this would have been a tight matchup. He also has Cam Akers, so that the better days might come because he's gonna be more productive than he has been so far.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Kyler's team, he kept Joe Burrow for a 5th or 6th round pick, which wasn't really a smart idea to start with, but he's playing Joe Burrow against AFC North teams instead of playing Tua Tagovailoa. I know it was his tight ends I was making fun of last year, but I think that might be a trend if he keeps playing Joey in the slot there when he's not playing very well at all.
Yeah. Last week, I guess that actually technically panned out to play Joe Burrow over Tua. Even though Tua played well if you watch the game. But I think that's going to be a tough choice every week, which is why I don't try to go for that kind of thing myself. Just because then you kill yourself over all these having to pick the better quarterback every week. There was a very close one between Shane and Ducky, which has led to Ducky being an 0-2 team just like last year. He started out very slowly, and I believe snuck into the playoffs in the end. I think.
Yeah, I mean, last year he was in Portugal for the first couple of weeks, so I don't know what his excuse is this week, being in Massachusetts the whole time.
His team's been fine. Looking at it here, you can see that injuries were bad luck. Random things we don't really understand yet, like his punter didn't come through. I think his team's going to be fine. Just one of those like 0-2 teams like the Chargers that ultimately will be a good team this year. Then in the sibling matchup here, also very close one. Mid-tier Nick came out on top.
Yeah, I mean, Katie starting off the year slow. I mean, last year obviously she had like 6 or 7 wins in a row to finish out the year, so I'm not really too worried about her team yet.
No, not at all. I mean, started out slow, I guess, because she lost this game, but 135 is super respectable. That's above league average for sure. I'm guessing league average is going to come out like 115 maybe. Maybe a little higher. But yeah. So that was last week. I think we're even more excited to talk about next week with our guest today, who we will see in just a moment. All right, welcome Shane to the show. How you doing, Shane?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure, kind of. I mean, we're still rivals, and your team is bound to lose this year, as we saw from ESPN. But I guess the first question I have for you, Shane, is why do you think ESPN is wrong that you're our worst team?
Do they project me to come in last still?
No,
I think always.
they always changed it. You're a little bit higher now. You're like 10th or something, but
They just don't believe in Jack Campbell like I do.
I'm not even sure who Jack Campbell is. Is he one of your players?
Nice research,
Yes.
Nate. Yeah. First round pick. Fighting ankles in Detroit up there.
Yep, he's a throwback middle linebacker that Dan Campbell took. It's actually his son.
That's
You
right.
didn't know?
I do remember this story now. And
Yep.
he's on your team, defensive player.
He is. Yep, he's my defensive player. Everyone else is injured on my team, so it's the Jack Campbell show.
How is Mr. Campbell so far?
You know, he's had some rookie struggles. The Lions defense isn't very good, but you know, he's certainly trying. If you watch him play, he plays hard.
Yeah, they're good enough to be the defending champions.
I can see so I just pulled up your account, and I can see that he has projected to score 3 points this week and has so far scored an average of 5 points every week, which is about a third of what most people's defensive players have scored.
Yep, that's fine. He'll get there.
Yeah, he's a rookie. Just trust the process, right, Shane?
Mm-hmm. People slept on Justin Fields last year early on with his struggles, and then all of a sudden he was rushing for 100 yards a game. You know, soon enough, Jack Campbell's going to be getting those 15 tackle games like rookie linebackers do later in the season.
Just like my player is already, which I'm still benefiting from.
Yeah, but it's not as fun when they do it right off the bat. You know, when you stick with them through the tough times, you know, you build together and learn together.
Yeah, we're just talking about Carson has Aaron Rodgers still on his bench. He's sticking with him all year, it looks like.
Yeah, you can't abandon your horses.
Yeah, it's all about the team morale. You know, the Jets didn't drop Aaron Rodgers, and so neither is Carson.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we did want you to weigh in on our bet. We actually have not shared the result of our bet last week, which was that I had Bijan Robinson and David Montgomery, and Snickers had the
Jahmyr Gibbs and Tyler Algier. And Nate did squeak by with the win last week. Unfortunately, we're 1-1 this year.
Yeah, squeak by. I mean, I scored about triple his points. I think both my players outscored your players combined. But such is how sports go. Now, this week, we have a bit more of a high-profile bet going off of my matchup. I have Jalen Hurts on my team. My opponent, Kenny, has Justin Herbert. And Nick, you think that Justin Herbert will actually outperform this week?
I absolutely do. I mean, Tampa's a tough defense for Hurts to go against, and Justin Herbert against the Vikings, they're both 0-2. Loser goes to 0-3. It would be the best thing in the world for them both to go to 0-2-1. But I think Justin Herbert is going to be thrown for at least 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, probably going to all Keenan Allen, maybe Mike Williams catches one, but no running backs on their team. Looks like Eckler might not be playing, so it's going to be all on Herbert's shoulders there.
What do you think, Shane? Is that a defensible position to hold?
Yeah, Chargers don't have much of a defense, despite their defensive head coach. So Hugh Bear's just been airing it out.
I guess. I just think that the lack of Eckler is a bit of a red herring here. I think he relies on Eckler to open up the passing game. If they think they have much of a running threat, maybe they'll be able to prioritize the pass game a little better, and he'll maybe throw a few interceptions. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, why do you think that Jalen Hurts is going to be really good against Tampa on Monday night?
I think because Jalen, he hasn't really been running this year, but why not open it up this week?
Against a really tough run defense. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, like tough run defense against the running backs. But
I think this bet is a little too soft. If I was Snickers, I would go for Baker Mayfield over Jalen Hurts.
What do you think, Snickers? Willing to change that?
Who's taller, Baker Mayfield or Jalen Hurts? No, I'm good with my bet right now. I really do like Baker, and I think there's a small chance that the Buccaneers do beat the Eagles this week, but I think Hurts probably outscores him in fantasy, so I'm gonna stick with Herbert.
All right, that's fine. Now here I'm gonna pull back up the ESPN so we can talk about some of our matchups of the week. Let's start with you, Shane. You have a little bit of an unfortunate timing on this matchup because you're playing Carson, who is currently projected to win because his team's been really good so far, but I don't think it's going to last much longer. How do you think your team pulls out this week?
Well, I have the starter in Houston, Dameon Pierce, who's admittedly struggled, but I think he's due for a bounce back. He's a good player. Antonio
Carson
Gibson's
has the backup running back there.
Yeah, he's got your backup in there right now, which is a bit of an odd choice, but
Tremaine Edmonds isn't even a good linebacker.
I mean, looking at Carson's team overall, I know we covered it a little bit earlier. Outside of Bijan Robinson, TJ Hawkinson, and Jonathan Taylor, who's not playing, he has all backup players. They're all second string or further behind, and he's 2-0, so I'm not going to really call him out there. But Shane, it looks like you might need some help there, especially from Jack Campbell.
Yeah, I'm expecting a big game. Rookie on rookie, Campbell on Bijan. Gonna be a big matchup. Kind of like the old Boz versus Bo Jackson matchup back in the day. For all you football historians.
Throwback.
looking at your team, Shane, I'm realizing you're really hurting at running back, though. Dameon Pierce and Zach Moss are your best running backs.
Yeah, you want to scroll down a little bit and you'll see why.
Oh, Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
But
And
I mean,
Alvin Kamara I took in the mid rounds.
You definitely have a lot of bad running backs on your team. That's impressive.
True.
no, I mean, I think A-Chain and Harris are reasonable kind of shotgun approach type stashes. I don't know if Rashad Penny really needs to stick around any longer.
Hey, don't disparage Rashad Penny. Once Swift gets hurt, Penny's going to be averaging 8 yards a carry.
Until he gets hurt. So he'll be good for one game, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I need.
Yeah, if you think to play him that game, if you don't have to cut him for some other pickup, although Deontay Johnson may also be droppable, right? Nick Chubb, he's not going to be.
Yeah, I tried to drop him today, but it wouldn't let me do anything. I don't know why. He's stuck in my IR spot for maybe the rest of the week.
Yeah, I think you have to take him out of your IR spot to drop him.
It wouldn't let me move him at all.
Huh.
You should probably email the commissioner about that.
Is he one of
I'll complain, very much so.
the players that are undroppable until the ESPN changes something?
No, maybe, but it wouldn't even let me move him to the bench.
Weird.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely weird, but I'm going to jump into my matchup of the week. Speaking of our commissioner, he's going to Goddard House this week, and he's facing Kyle. Matt's 0-2, which is surprising, and Kyle's 1-1 after his hot start last year. Kyle's projected to win despite getting 8.5 points from 2 players on Thursday. So, I mean, it's going to be still an uphill battle for Matt there. But looking at their teams, I mean, Matt's got some questionable players that could be really good, like Rashad White, Khalil Herbert, Garrett Wilson, and I hate to say it, Jamar Chase, who has not shown up yet, but obviously Chase, I'm not worried about. He'll come up swinging at any moment here. But I think I might have to go with Kyle's team. He has a more stable lineup still. Jahmyr Gibbs, Alex Madison, we'll see how it goes after this trade just happened. But he got Jerome Ford for the big pickup this week. And what are you thinking, Shane, between these two?
Well, Matt's got the kicking tandem of kicker, the Dicker the kicker, and the Dirty Sanchez. Gives him a pretty big lead. in my eyes. But outside of that, his team's kind of fallen apart. Jamar Chase has been pretty disappointing. We'll see if he can bounce back against a weak Rams secondary. But I don't really trust Khalil Herbert, Rashad White, DJ Moore to do much against anybody.
Matt does have the bridge, Kendrick Bourne.
Ooh, on the bench.
Who
Yeah, that's a bad
Warner-
matchup.
Warner Michael Thomas honestly might be better than Garrett Wilson, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's a big thing to look out this week is the weather games on the East Coast with the storm coming through.
Yeah.
A lot of games are going to be complete washouts.
Yeah, I mean, Jets Pats was not going to be very high scoring anyway, so we'll see how Garrett Wilson does in that game. What about your matchup this week here, Nate?
Yeah, the matchup that I wanted to highlight this week was Nick v. Nick, mid-tier Nick at 2-0 versus the Olive Man at 0-2. My question is, does the Olive Man get back on track? We were saying before when we were going over last week's matchups that I think his team has really underperformed. The projections have them being very close. And I mean, mid-tier Nick did play Brock Purdy at the right time, apparently. I would not have been maybe bold enough to play him even against the Giants quite yet. But I mean, he was playing Pickett before, so I guess upgrade. But
if you look at it, Kenny Pickett is no longer on his team.
Not even on his team. Yeah, he picked up Jordan Love this week. I'm totally reworking this thing. So, but yeah, I mean, I just think that this, unlike some other teams we talked about, Ducky does have a bunch of players who I expect to be performing well now. AJ Brown, of course, is going to have a big week because Jalen Hurts is going to have a big week. He's going to probably score 2 or 3 times as many points as Herbert. But then we have Olave, I think should be fine. Kenneth Walker is going to be fine. Derrick Henry is going to be fine. And Kirk Cousins, many are talking about as kind of like the QB to play this week. So I think this is a bounce back week. He's not going to be a winless team going into next week. What do you guys think?
Kirk is the QB1 so far this year.
He absolutely is.
I mean, have you seen him on the Netflix show Quarterbacks?
I have not.
I've seen a little bit. Yeah.
I think Caitlin needs to watch that. It's very wagalicious. I think she would like it.
I will have to let her know. She unfortunately is not around for the hot takes tonight because she had work. But
yeah, she should get on that. There's a lot of wag drama to be had.
There is a lot of Brittany.
Yeah.
Wow, no, she would love that. I will have to pass along that rec. And yeah, I know Snickers loves to rag on mid-tier Nick just because he is winless against him in the history of the league still somehow. Some statistical aberration. But I actually have a lot of respect for his team this year too. So it is gonna I think that both these teams are gonna be playoff teams next year. But
I think Ducky has slightly too many Houston Texans on his team to be very good this year. But he's going full tank. And you gotta respect that. So whether he wins or loses, I think Ducky's the real winner in this matchup.
That's right, tank. Not that he's been bold enough to play either of them. But
Tank Dell and Nico Collins have been pretty good this year.
Nico Collins is like the 4th best receiver in the league this year, something like that.
Yeah.
But I thought it would also be worth taking a look at our free agent offers this week. It was a really interesting week. I mean, it was all about one player ultimately. Was Jerome Ford, who went to Kyle for 69 fab. I think that was the biggest expenditure our league has ever seen.
69 FAP.
Fab, yeah. And I mean, obviously I was the one who was kind of most on board with that. Although I bid 22 fab less than he did. But what do you guys think? Was that a total waste of money, or is he going to be glad that he has this maybe timeshare running back the rest of the year?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't a bad pickup. Obviously, Kareem Hunt's coming to town, but you know what everyone's saying, Kareem Hunt's washed. He's not going to do that well. I know I'm wearing my Browns jersey this week in respect for my guy, Nick Chubb. But I think he'll do well. Obviously, I didn't think he'd do, that well. I only put in $14 for him, but I think it's going to help out Kyle's team, especially if he needs a running back.
Yeah, I mean, picking up a potentially starting running back at this point in the season can change your season. So I think at potential be worth it. The signing, obviously, of Kareem Hunt was a little disappointing for him. But now, Shane, it doesn't even look like you ventured a bid. What is your approach with the fab this year?
So I keep forgetting until Wednesday to do it. So 2 weeks in a row, I've been a little late. But I think Kyle overpaid by quite a bit because UAW's on strike. United Auto Workers, so I don't think Ford's going to be out there. He's in solidarity with his Cleveland brother and out on the picket line.
That's an interesting take. Are there any other players that are impacted by this? I mean, there are no players named Chevrolet as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah,
not too many
I mean-
Chryslers out there.
I don't think D Ford's in the league anymore, right?
I mean, what about just the Rams team in general?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the whole team might be on strike. It's a good point, Nate.
And they're going to Cincinnati this week on Monday. That's pretty close to Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, very. I don't know if Kyle was following the national news when he took that into account.
Yeah, I think Kyle's anti-labor.
That's kind of what I'm hearing. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
he's pro scab.
He is also pro funny offers, though.
Yeah, is that really he just wants to say 69 on the show? Could
Yeah.
be. You gotta. But
Sky's the limit with his jokes there.
there was a couple other pickups this week. I got Matt Breida for $12. I honestly was shocked to see that no one else bid on this guy. I mean, when I was picking him up, I was thinking Saquon might be out, maybe probably going to be out for multiple weeks, despite what the team is saying. And right now, it seems like I'm right. So I at least have a few weeks with Matt Breida. I didn't play him this week, so it's a bad matchup, but I expect to play him the next few weeks, and that's worth 12 fab to me.
You feel good about a middling Giants running back on a terrible Giants team?
I mean, we've seen how many injuries there were this year. If he can get like a touchdown in like 30 yards, that would be probably better than AJ Dillon, who is currently sitting in my second running back spot.
So your whole thing
yeah,
is that he's going to play. Because, I mean, Nathan Peterman has been a starting quarterback in this league before. And I've never heard the argument that Nathan Peterman's a starter, so therefore he should be owned.
No,
Nathan Peterman was a starting quarterback in our league last year. You guys didn't remember that.
I mean, the quarterback position is totally different. At running back, if someone's starting, they're worth being on a team.
Yeah. No, I kind of agree with you, Nate. I know we were making fun of you before, but Matt Breida is going to get some work. I don't think $12 was that much. I don't think he's very good, but he could get 10 points every week.
Yeah, I thought that the Josh Reynolds pickup that I also got this week. I mean, I've spent a lot of money here early on, but seven fab for that I thought was a pretty good deal because he was showing something. And if it doesn't work out, I don't mind dropping him in a couple weeks. Kyle went big on the Chiefs defense too, which no one else went for. I'd never seen someone spend $4 on a defense before, but
yeah, I mean,
who are they playing this week?
Playing the Chicago Bears. Chiefs
why.
defense is going to get at least 18 points this week, so I don't really blame Kyle for that.
Yeah, wants to get a winning record. I get it. But we know that there's still a lot of teams out there with their full fab budget. Some of them may just never spend them, but I know teams like you, Shane, will ultimately maybe late season push with the fab.
Yep, I'm waiting for the next Puka.
Yeah,
I know he'll show up eventually.
absolutely. Puka obviously has the most receptions in the first 2 games in NFL history. It's just insane. But
Did they say that on the broadcast? I didn't catch that.
What was it?
Did they say that on the broadcast at all? I didn't catch that.
Yeah, they did mention that one.
They did? Oh.
Yeah. No, you got 25 receptions in 2 games. So
it was the record by like 2 or 3, according to whatever one I was watching. But and you were watching because we were there. But and but what games are you guys excited about this week in the real NFL?
I was under the impression that this was a fantasy podcast. We don't talk about real sports here.
We're
So
right.
what you're saying is the Falcons-Lions matchup that you're watching? this week, Shane, with Bijan and Jameer Gibbs going up against each other?
Yeah, I'm just watching them though.
You're not watching Jared Goff versus Desmond Ritter? They didn't want to take that bet earlier. No, I probably Chargers Vikings has to be the most exciting game this week. It has like a 55-point over under, something like that. It's going to be 42-38 final score. Like, that should be pretty fun to watch.
I'm looking forward to all the weather games. Like me a good 7-3 battle in a hurricane.
Yeah, no, the Patriots game's gonna be a slugfest. I may or may not tune into that one this week. I usually make a point to see the Pats, but this week I might choose a different game. Bagels Rams, we have the 2 years ago Super Bowl matchup, although it's two strike cities against each other, so we can play. Who knows?
I'll have to bring in the replacements.
Yeah, the AAA.
Yeah. Keanu Reeves might join. Well, he's also on strike. A lot of people on strike right now.
Yeah, we're about to go on strike soon too.
The podcast?
Yeah. Just like our advertisers.
Does that mean I'm going to be furloughed?
But no, any other thoughts from you guys before we go today?
No, it'll be fun to see how everyone responds to week 3 here. I know me and Nate both have pretty tough matchups, and Shane, you have a really tough matchup. It looks like you might not win it. But all these 2-0, 0-2, we'll see if anyone goes to 0-3 or 3-0 this year.
Yeah, no, definitely. It seems like a year where I think the side effect of the deep bench and the new positions is going to be kind of an evening of the field, just because they're kind of some random dice rolls with the kicker and the defensive player and stuff. So I think it's going to be a tightly contested standings all year. But thank you for joining us, Shane.
Yeah, of course. I think I'm going to send this over to Jack Campbell as some bulletin board material.
Yeah, hopefully it inspires him to be better, because so far maybe not worth rostering.
Yep. Yeah, I think he'll come through.
Well, we can hope for him. But no, thanks everyone for joining us today. We'll see you all next week.